All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Tyler Ellison. I am joined by my fantastic friend, Yahaira Vargas. Hello,
Hello,
Yahaira.
everybody. Hello, Tyler. Welcome, everybody, to this next Q&A that I can only expect beautiful things as always. Thank you for being
Yeah,
here, everybody.
yeah, these things have been so fun and just so exciting to be doing more of these. I mean, I feel like recently I've been given such a great opportunity to really dive in even deeper into my own mystical practices, the channeling practices, and I have noticed the information that comes through in the channeling has absolutely been reflective of that. So each of these live streams are, I know for many people that join in, very fun. But I know for myself and Yahaira, it sounds like for you too, they're just very illuminating and expansive. So I kind of feel like I get an upgrade just through doing these things each month. So just want to express that gratitude for everybody for making this thing possible. I mean, this is just so fun.
Yes. And just one thing, I think we're in gallery view.
Oh yeah, thank you. We'll
Yeah.
correct that. There we go. So speaker view. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So everyone, again, thank you for being here with us. Today, I'm going to go into the channeling state. I'm going to bring Ryok through, and he's just going to talk about an upcoming event that we're going to be doing on Monday, the 30th of August. This is going to be at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Standard Time. So that way, people who are in European time zones can be able to make the event without it being super duper early. For folks in Australia, I'm so sorry. It's, I think that's going to be like around, early in the morning for all of you, but we're doing our best to make this as accessible as we can. So he's going to talk about the event, describe a bit about the content, the theme, the subject matter, and then we're going to go right into Q&A where everyone who is typing in the chat will have an opportunity to ask questions. Now, I just want to give a few guidelines for ways to ask your questions that increase the probability of them getting selected. So a few things. Be as clear as you can in your questioning. If you're asking about something that's a very fringe topic, fringe just meaning like maybe you and 20 people on Reddit know about it and no one else does, be really, really, really clear about what you're asking. If there's like terms that like I probably don't know, most people don't know, define the terms, give as much context as possible. And if you really just ask the question in a way where it's super clear, Ryok will likely be able to answer it for you. But if there's stuff in there that's just too exotic for even myself to understand, we can't really do too much with it. It's like someone asking me a question in like Spanish. Like I don't speak Spanish. I probably won't be able to channel a good answer. So just be super duper clear. That's really the main guideline I have. I would encourage, ask questions that perhaps aren't just personal to you, but maybe a lot of people. I find we're moving into a version of our society that's more global, it's more collective. So the more collectively oriented your question is, again, the higher the probability it is, it will get selected. Of course, if you have personal questions about yourself, your life, those are important. I value those. I know Ryok values those. However, those are questions oftentimes where it's like one-on-one in-person things are kind of the time and place for that because you deserve that sort of attention with your personal issues, and sometimes just over text, that attention can't really be given. So you can ask personal things. I'm not saying don't ask them, just understand you might get more out of that in a private session versus just sort of this public Q&A. But that is all allowed. That is fine. We're accepting those, no problem. So again, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us. This is such a joyful, fun event to do. I look forward to these. I literally train to do these. I like bring in a lot of energy to make sure I'm in like such a blissed out, like hyper Zen mindset for all this. So this enriches me, and I know a lot of folks in many ways. So thank you again for your presence, your attention. The final thing I'm going to talk about before we begin is I am going to be writing a book. I have started this. It's in its baby steps. But I'm going to be writing a book on how to channel because I get questions all the time about book recommendations on how to channel, and I just haven't seen many books out there. Really, I think I've read one that was like okay, and there's just not a lot of content out there. I know there's a lot of people that want to get into this and they have a lot of questions about it. So that's going to be in the works. I will keep you all updated as that blossoms, but my hope is over the next few months, I can really just pour everything I have into it. I don't want it to be a very drawn out process because I don't think it needs to be. You know, I teach people how to channel. So my goal is to just take this streamlined information and to just imprint it right into this book. So it's as straightforward and transparent as possible. So hopefully it doesn't take like a whole year to write this thing. I have written books before, but I've never like taken it all the way to publish it. So this will be the first one. So I'll keep you all informed as I do that. But I'm also kind of saying it here because it's, if I tell enough people, you know, the probability of its manifestation is much higher. So there we go. All right, everyone. Without further ado, let me just shut off my lovely technology. I'm grateful for it, but it is like a siren, both metaphorically and literally sometimes. So that's off. Let's make sure my other stuff is off. Okay, everything's off. So I'm going to dive into the state. Yahira will be reading your questions from the chat. Have a great time. It is our species' highest joy and passion to be able to interact with each of you through this particular channel. Today, we shall describe to you our upcoming August transmission titled Plants and Possibility. And in this transmission, which will take place on August 30th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll provide to you all different permission slips that can enable you to access what you might consider to be the shamanic elemental dimension to the plant kingdom. Now understand, plants have been used for eons on your world as medicines. Many of your pharmaceutical drugs that exist are derived from different plant compounds. And understand your plants have also been used to assist individuals in going into altered states of consciousness. And many of you understand this process through the use of different entheogens, different psychoactive plants. Now understand, you can utilize any type of plant to go into an altered state without having the plant being psychoactive. And this can also be done without having to actually consume the plant. Different energetic techniques can be utilized upon the plant consciousness that enable you to access altered states that pertain to its dimensional levels. In other words, you can commune with plants directly through consumption or indirectly through meditational exercises in a way that will enable you to access the different octaves of dimensionality that are relevant to a specific plant. In addition to this, too, many different forms of consciousness, mostly relevant to your earth, but not always, are also able to be accessed through certain plants. You understand these beings as nature spirits, elementals, the Fae, as well as the hybrid children. So through interacting with plants in these more shamanic ways, contact with other forms of consciousness can be had, and different teachings can be received that come not just from the soul of the plant, but also come from other types of consciousness associated with the plants. We will describe to you many different levels of reality that can be accessed through different plants, and we will describe to you different ways of interacting with the plants, such as understanding the energetic polarity of a particular plant, masculine, feminine, yin, yang. We will also describe to you ways of calculating, determining the elemental quality of a plant, so you can understand what types of realms, what types of dimensional spaces a specific plant can connect you to. And ultimately, we will share with you different ways to receive what you might call psychic songs, psychic music from the plants. Many of the indigenous peoples of the Amazon rainforest have practiced this type of art where they divine special music from the plants. And when that music is played and performed, it can lead not only the shaman, but also those in proximity to the shaman into very altered states. Now, what we will share is not specific to any type of indigenous lineage on your world. It's simply a general exercise that can enable you to channel specific frequencies of music and sound from the plant kingdoms. For those of you that are more visually artistic, you may find other forms of creative divination can be expressed and explored, but understand your plants assist you all in musical exploration primarily. That can translate visually, of course, because your sound waves can be transcribed, you could say, in visual ways. However, it starts with frequency, which for many of you is an auditory phenomenon. So music will be a primary focus here. We thank you all for your attention in this announcement, and we look forward to interacting with you during that transmission. And we now make ourselves available to each of you for whatever questions and ideas you are excited to share with us this day.
Hello, Ryok.
Greetings, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited about that new transmission. Since I've been consuming ayahuasca and other plants, I'm really excited about that.
Yes, we are so excited to deliver it as well. And let's just say many of the plant spirits you are all familiar with are excited as well, for they will be tuning in to this transmission, and it will create a space where your plant guides will speak to you more directly. A gateway will be open where, in particular, those types of plants you have a deep connection to will be able to really reach your conscious mind in a deeper way. So we thank you for your sharings, and we look forward to this exciting co-creative event.
Thank you. I already have goosebumps because I can feel it already. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge some people here: Elizabeth, Benjamin, Aaron, Liana, Angie. They always follow us in this event and in the paid one. So thank you so much for being here. So we'll start with the first question. How exactly is the merkabah activated and then working in daily life?
All right, well, understand there's many different ways to activate what you call the merkabah. Many different techniques, many different tools, many different mystery schools have their own methodologies for activating it. But the idea is to remember the center point, the intersection point of the two pyramids, or in some schools of thought, the two tetrahedron-like triangular structures is the heart center. So recognize the heart center is where the upper and lower worlds mix and blend and combine. So you can imagine the two three-sided pyramids intersecting in the heart. And the idea is allowing for one pyramid to spin in a clockwise manner and the other pyramid to spin in a counterclockwise manner. Using your breath, using your visualization, really animate this, really amplify this. And the idea is allow for this visualization to increase in speed to such a degree that it appears as if the pyramids are still. They're spiraling that quickly that they have become totally still. And become aware of that stillness and allow for the stillness to be a gateway where you dissolve your sense of self into the sense of stillness. And from here, once you're dissolved, once your physical mind has merged with the heart center, because that's what the merkabah enables you to do. It enables you to dissolve into the heart center so you can access the higher self. Once you've merged with the higher self through the heart center, you can then use the merkabah to travel. Just simply imagine a particular astral location you prefer to travel to and just visualize you're going there. Visualize you are interacting with different beings. And remember, the merkabah creates a heart field around you. So really only beings that are a match for your heart will really be able to come near you. So you can have a very positive type of astral voyage through activating this. We would recommend working with people who are trained in this particular art because you can really take it quite far. Many types of doorways can be opened when you become highly developed in the activation of the merkabah. So there's, again, many schools of thought. Some schools see it again as a three-sided pyramid. Some schools of thought utilize a four-sided pyramid for greater balance and stability, representing the idea of the four elements grounding you, where the three-sided pyramid has more to do with the fire energy. It's more stimulating. However, with the fire energy, more of the heart is activated. So there's a few different ways to play with it. In terms of utilizing it for daily life, once the structure's built, once you've crystallized that energetic structure, it's a permanent part of your energy body. It's like you've wired something in your home. Once it's built, it's built. The key really is simply living from the heart. That will empower it. So you can utilize its power as you go throughout your day. And of course, when you wish to use it to travel or raise your frequency, go through the exercise we mentioned or whatever exercises your guides prescribe to you. Again, follow your joy and your passion here, because that will guide you down the path that is of greatest relevance to you and what you might call your destiny. So have fun with that.
Next question. What is the meaning of the biblical "in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God," and of other religious texts that speak of words or sounds being the origin of everything?
Well, it simply represents the idea that the underlying levels of creation are vibrational, they're subtle. So you understand, of course, that there are multiple densities that make up your experience of reality. Your physical experience is one of the denser levels that exist on the spectrum of creation. However, the levels that are, let's just say, more relevant to the source perspective, that are more relevant to that spirit perspective, are very non-physical. They're less dense. And the idea being that in terms of linear creation, remember, all things exist at once, but through linear creation, things exist first in that spiritual dimension, in that spirit realm. And then they densify and densify and densify and densify until they densify to a particular frequency level that represents your physical world. In terms of linear creation, that's how it is expressed. So, in the beginning, representing a linear point of view, there was the idea of the word, the frequencies of spirit, of God, to use your classical terminology, that then began to densify themselves, increasing in densification, thus giving rise to different levels of existence. So that's a little bit about the idea of why that phrase is used. It's talking about, again, how the most subtle of levels, which are purely energetic, purely frequency, densify themselves to give rise to your experience of a material physical world.
Next question. Was the story of Noah's Ark real?
It is metaphorical in nature. That doesn't mean it's not real. It's talking about real things, but the way it's talking about those things is, you could say, disguised as the metaphor of a flood, of a storm. Now understand, there were great floods, there were great storms in your ancient times. This absolutely did occur, and many of them really changed your planet in deep ways. changed many civilizations in deep ways. But Noah's Ark in particular, the idea of gathering animals 2 by 2, masculine and feminine, has to do more so with the preservation of knowledge through challenging times, represented by the idea of the storm. The ark representing the idea of a collective energy body that could preserve the idea of ancient wisdom, ancient knowledge that would in future generations continue to guide your people. So it represents deep connections to the earth, deep connections to the spiritual wisdom of the earth being preserved as your planet went through challenging times.
Beautiful. Next question. Could 5D Earth be considered in any way as being located in a completely different location / star system?
This is a way to conceptualize it, yes. And we actually will be delivering a transmission based on this idea. Now understand, even though that's a way of conceptualizing the 5D Earth, it may not necessarily be literally representative of what the 5D Earth will be like, but imagining your Earth in such a way, for example, imagining your sun is actually the star of an extraterrestrial system, can enable you to accelerate your shifting in relationship to the directions that represent to you a 5D Earth, a non-physical Earth, a spirit Earth, because that's what 5D is. It's not a physical reality, it's a spirit reality. There will be much time required in terms of experience in order for you all to evolve in that type of way. However, you can always channel that 5D reality now. You can access it now. You can live it now by simply channeling your higher self. And that's what we all, as your guides, reflect back to you, the higher self energies. So you can absolutely conceive of your Earth and its position in the cosmos in that type of way, imagining it in a different star system, a part of a different solar system, even a part of a different galaxy if you prefer. And that can really assist you in shifting your individual and collective frequencies to really, you could say, specifically guide your unique ascension process. So you can play with that. You can use that as a tool. It can guide you.
Next question. If all that is created all that is, then who or what created all that is? Or how did all this appear?
Understand, you might have the experience of things being created. For example, you can look back in your histories and say, this thing was created then. This thing was created then. But that's an experience from within the perspective of all that is. All that is experiences all things, all dimensions of itself simultaneously. In other words, all creational moments which take place within the perspective of all that is are all simultaneous creational moments, even though to you they may appear to be linear, one after another, after another, after another. But from the perspective of all that is, there is only now. So creation is occurring within the perspective of all that is. All that is has no creation. It has no origin because it is the here and now. It has always been. It has no beginning. It has no end. It is infinite. It is eternal. It is outside of the concepts of beginnings. It is outside of the concepts of creations. Those things exist inside of it as experiences that can be had. But it itself is outside of those concepts altogether. It contains them.
Can you share a bit on faith? I heard by your species that faith can override any negative beliefs.
Yes, because faith simply represents the idea of aligning with your knowingness. Now, we'll describe it like this. Your soul has an unconditional knowingness of what you might consider to be truth. Truth being the idea of the qualities that are objectively fundamental to your consciousness and to creation as a whole. Now, of course, you can buy into negative ideas that can appear to be very real and very true and very convincing. However, what you consider to be faith acts as a tool, acts as an energy that can enable you to suspend the negative belief system in a way that enables you to align with your knowingness. So faith is a bridge that allows for you to detach and let go of negative realities in a way that enables you to align with that true knowingness. So that's how we would describe faith. And because it enables you to detach from those negative energies, you can more easily, using it as an energy, align with that core level of the self. And you can use that core energy to really dissolve what you might call attachments to those negative ideas through letting go of them, through seeing them simply as perspectives, just as stories. If you can remember that every perspective is just a story, you can easily, lucidly pick the ones up that you need to take your steps and let go of the ones that really aren't relevant to you. Remember, objective truth is literally an opinion. Remember this, objective truth is just an opinion. So whenever someone presents to you, or even your own mind presents to you, a negative perspective that claims objective truth, remember, it's just a story. If you can remember that, you can put it down. Instead of getting sucked into the book, you remember, oh, wait a minute, I'm in a library. Let me close the book and put it back on the shelf. Oh, here's the book of my heart. Let me open that one up. I'll read that. Because I know that that represents me and my path. And that's why I'm here, to walk my path, to be myself. So yes, your faith can assist you in this process. Absolutely.
Next question. How and when does the higher self decide for us? Isn't it a limitation or contradiction on free will?
It decides with you. You might not be aware that you're, in a sense, creating relationships and strategies with it, because most of this you're doing on different levels. However, that's still happening regardless. The higher self is working in harmony with the various levels of your psyche, with the various levels of your soul. So the higher self really fundamentally is a bridge between the soul and the physical mind. Now, if you have a very dense physical mind, what you might consider to be a dense physical ego, you might say, this is definitely my way. This is definitely my path, but it may actually have nothing to do with you. You may be selecting something out of sheer negativity and beliefs in concepts that are more pertinent to the realities of others rather than yourself. Remember, your ego, your physical mind is really just the tip of the iceberg. It's about 1% of what you are. Remember that. So, the other dimensions of your being, the other dimensions of your soul may have a very specific path in mind for the physical life. And the higher self will do everything it can to take the energy of the soul and to then express that energy, that desire, into the physical mind, into the physical body, into the physical life through the path of least resistance. Now, again, as we have said, the physical mind, the physical ego is about 1% of you. So it may have its own resistances, but understand those resistances will eventually fall by the wayside at a certain point in the journey, because that other 99% is busy co-creating reality in all types of different ways. Remember as well, that 1% of resistance that may be there to the soul's, you could say, desire, may actually be something strategically selected by the soul, so the soul could learn about itself through those themes of resistance. So even though it might look like that 1% of resistance is in violation of free will, it may actually be a strategic tool in the soul's learning process. So remember, in your consciousness, majority rules, truly. Whatever you're feeding energy into the most will be what you create. So even if you are using 100% of your egoic 1% to resist your destiny, at a certain point, your destiny, your purpose, who you are, your heart will come knocking on your door. And you can continue to resist, but the message will just get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder, because that's what you're choosing on those other levels that represent the other 99% of your consciousness.
What are the portals on Earth that can make you non-physical or quasi-physical? Is there such portal on Earth?
Yes, there are many. Most of them are within mountainous areas. A few of them in the areas related to the Himalayan mountains, in particular, parts of this mountain range that are connected to Tibet, as well as aspects of it that are connected to the idea of India. In addition to this, there are other mountains that are connected to Eastern Asia, where such shifts are possible. In your United States, your North American continent, there are also mountains that are connected to such things. And in the South Americas, the same thing exists. Really, the key here is mountainous areas, because those represent the highest locations. Symbolically, it represents a bridge between the physical world and the non-physical world. And that's why those particular areas can assist individuals in those types of shifts.
How is the window of contact in the current now? Months ago, you said it was between 2023, 2025. Is it the same than the last reading?
It moves a little bit here and there, but nothing drastic has happened. You're all, again, moving closer and closer and closer to it each day. Remember, you can always ask us that question. We'll share with you our point of view as we created our point of view in the now. But remember, you can also be your own barometer for contact. In other words, are you embodying your heart? Are you embodying your higher self? If you are, then you're accelerating on that timeline towards the moment of global contact. So you can be your own barometer. It's all right to ask us, but remember, we're just reflecting back to you that heart, that higher self. So that awareness within you can be unconditional if you allow for it to be so, and you can really just tune into that information yourself. You, again, are the determiners of that, because contact occurs as a side effect of your species embodying the heart. Again, because you create your experience of reality, you, the individual, are the one catalyzing your global awakening process. We mean that literally. So tune into your own heart, and that can assist you in understanding your personal evolution along the timeline that leads to that collective event. But yes, 2023 is still what we are scanning into. There's a possibility, again, a possibility it may be earlier. It really depends, again, on how your species organizes itself during some of these more challenging times, because we understand there's a great deal of fear that many of you are transforming in your collective society. Remember, that energy of fear that you're transforming is showing up now, not because something new has happened that warrants fear, but because that fear has always been there. And now there is, let's just say, a collective theme that is an equal energy match for that fear. So as you let go of your, let's just say, attachments to that fear, more things in your society will shift that will enable you all to more easily embody the energies of the heart, which will make you a more appropriate vibrational match for our species and others, thus enabling an acceleration to occur in that particular timeline process that leads you all towards contact.
Can you please share information on the Nephilim and their descendants?
Well, understand, the Nephilim represent a few different things. It's not one thing. And you can observe this through observing all the different perspectives that members of your species have about this. Some individuals use that term as a way to understand extraterrestrial beings that came and interacted with your people. However, that's just one understanding of this. It's a valid one because, yes, that has occurred. And that's one understanding of the word. At one point, the word was used to represent that. However, the word also was utilized in later times to simply represent individuals that preserved the techniques and the knowledge given to them by those extraterrestrials. So they were, in a sense, otherworldly people that would marry and live amongst more ordinary folk in a way that represented those divine energies they were embodying to then be spread throughout society, throughout culture. So at a certain point in your history as a species, that word was used to identify extraterrestrial beings. At another point, it was utilized to identify individuals whom preserved that and whom reproduced with more, you could say, ordinary people whom weren't activating themselves in the same way. And that did produce offspring that were capable of very powerful things. And in a sense, that same process is taking place now, because all of you in different ways are activating your extra dimensional genetics. You're activating the extra dimensional components to your being. And as you have children, and as you interact with your society, those same types of activations take place. So it's not as if that has stopped happening. It's still happening. It's just now it's happening through all of you in your more contemporary expression of awakening.
Next question. Is first contact going to happen on 3D Earth or 5D Earth? Or in other words, before or after that collective shift?
Well, again, it's going to take place when your species is fully ready. So this is going to actually be in between. It's more of a 4D Earth, a 4-density Earth. And this represents a version of Earth where many of you understand you're in a dream. You understand to a certain degree you're all creating your reality. In other words, your species will understand the law of attraction as simply being physics. It will become that much of a household idea. And when you're all at that point, when you all begin to realize you're creating the reality, that this reality comes from you, then you'll be ready for contact. Again, 5th density is non-physical. So it won't be happening there in that way. It will happen in a 4th density way where your species will, in a sense, be meeting the hybrids halfway, because the hybrids exist largely as astral quasi-physical beings. And as the hybrids lower their frequency, they become denser and denser and denser to meet you all on your frequency bandwidth of reality. And you are all awakening, raising your frequency to meet them halfway. So as you continue to evolve yourselves by living in the heart, you will become more resonant with the hybrids, thus accelerating the process of contact.
Just following the hybrids that you mentioned, what do they do to lower their frequency to access us? Like what happens in their body or how?
All right. We will describe this. Now, we understand many of you think of lowering your frequency as more of a negative thing. That's not really what's taking place here. It's a matter of densifying. So using your imagination, we'll explain it very practically. Using your imagination, you can visualize that you're becoming light as a feather, and you can feel yourself being less affected by gravity. You can feel yourself almost as if you're out of your body. That's a representation of de-densifying yourself, becoming more etheric in nature. You can also, with your imagination, begin to perceive yourself becoming solid. You can feel yourself merging with the earth. You can breathe into your bones. You can breathe into your physicality in a way that really amplifies it. And that's a representation of densifying yourself. So that's what the hybrids do. The craft that the hybrids are in are extensions of their consciousness. They are craft, but the craft are programmed by the collective consciousness of its occupants. So as the occupants densify themselves, the craft becomes denser and denser and denser and denser and denser. because the craft's technology reflects, you could say, the energetic properties of the hybrid consciousness. So that's a little bit about how it happens. It's simply a matter of shifting one's frequency through the imagination to create a greater sense of solidness. And that enables the densification process to take place. Now, again, this is a skillful thing because you could say, imbalance yourself through shifting your density levels, perhaps in an erratic way. And many of you understand this through the terminology being ungrounded. So it's important to really make sure your energy body is resonant with all of the levels that are appropriate for you. Your physicality is one of those levels. So as you remain grounded and empowered, you naturally expand from your solid foundation into those less dense levels of creation.
Interesting. Thank you.
Nice. You're welcome.
Next question. How to be clear with myself, and how can I know that I am being clear with myself? This seems like a paradox.
Well, the idea is to recognize the symbolism even in your words. Because saying, I need to be clear in myself implies that there is something clouding your view. The only thing that can really cloud your view, truly, are what you would consider to be more physical mind sensations. You translate these as emotions, and you translate these as thoughts. Now, your thoughts and your emotions can absolutely guide you. That is very true. You can use them as guidance. But as you know, they can also distract you. As you know, they can also create the experience of a cloudy sky. If your I am presence is the sky, in this metaphor, the clouds would be excessive thoughts and excessive emotions. Imbalanced thoughts, imbalanced emotions. So, when a nice wind comes in and changes the atmospheric pressure, the clouds can appear to dissipate. When the sun shines through the clouds, this can also cause them to dissipate. So, let the sun in this metaphor be your heart, your heartbeat. Let the wind, the pressure in this metaphor be your breath. Focus on your heartbeat. Focus on your breath. And stop caring about getting clear. Stop caring about clarity at all. Instead of caring about those things, focus on your breath. Focus on your heartbeat. And anytime a thought comes up, anytime a feeling comes up, lovingly just say, oh, I let go of you. And go back to your breath. Go back to your heart. Spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long it takes. And you'll get clear. Absolutely. 100%. You will get clear. Stay with it. It may take you a few rounds, but if you let go of the things that create the sensation of being cloudy, you'll no longer be energetically resonant with cloudiness. Instead, you'll be resonant with clarity. That's what your heart represents, and that's what your breath represents.
Next question. I have had numerous and consistent contact sightings this year, but lately it has stopped. What could the reason be for this?
You're being encouraged to apply the energies you've exposed yourself to in a grounded way that will enable you to more holistically shift yourself to a more preferable timeline where you are closer than ever before to extraterrestrial contact. Whenever that happens, whenever you're having very deep spiritual experiences and all of a sudden it seems to go away, this is a moment to apply what you experienced in a deeper way. This might mean increasing the frequency or the intensity of your psychic spiritual practices. And it also may mean living those truths, living those energies, living those lessons in a very deeply embodied way, deeper than you ever have before. So it's not that you've done something wrong. It's not that you've gotten off the timeline. It's not that you've been abandoned. It's not that someone's blocking you. It's simply that you're being asked to refocus the energy. And as you refocus the energy, you will find your new focus presents to you a new perspective of it with new levels of contact.
Beautiful. That answered my question as well.
Okay.
Are chemtrails sprayed over us? And if yes, what is the purpose of this?
Yes, for weather modification purposes. Yes. This is common knowledge now. At one point, this was conspiracy theory, but now this is very unanimously acknowledged by your world scientists. Now, the technologies are changing. Many countries are now utilizing sonic frequencies instead of chemical emissions to create the weather changes because they're recognizing it as a lower environmental impact. So remember, these things are shifting, these things are changing as your understanding shifts and change. They're not really being sprayed for nefarious purposes. They're really just technologies utilized that come from a misunderstanding of basic chemistry and the types of effects that different compounds can create in biological systems. So this does occur, but remember, this is why you have substances that detoxify your body, because if you are exposed to this, you can remove these compounds. It's important to not give these things more power than is truly warranted. Yes, acknowledge some of these things may be toxins, of course, because that's a dimension to it. But you don't have to fear that. Be empowered and say, all right, how do I clean my body? How do I nourish my body? How do I do that not just in a physical way, but also in an energetic way? Because as you take those steps, you will then shift to a version of Earth where there's actually less physical toxins, and that can actually translate as a version of Earth where you're not really experiencing chemtrails. So don't live in fear of these things. Just take care of yourself, detoxify yourselves, live in a positive way, and you'll find you shift away from those things because those are just reflections. Really, those type of technologies only emerge because of toxic belief systems and misunderstandings that your species utilize that create an imbalance between your kind and the rest of nature. So as you rectify that within yourselves, those things will fall away.
Next question. I seem to be defining the non-physical as something I cannot see, and that's not helping me find my beliefs. The belief is like the physical is what is here, and the non-physical is what isn't.
Well, if you define it as something that isn't, it will be non-existent to you. It's just how it is. If you're saying this thing just does not exist, is not, then that's how you'll experience it. Remember, you might not be able to see it with your physical eyes just yet, although some of you can. You have inner senses. You have what's called the mind's eye, the inner eye. That's a level of psychic perception that you can use to perceive non-physical energies. You also have what you would consider to be a psychic kinesthetic awareness, where you can feel things. You can feel these frequencies, these vibrations. That's another level of your inner psychic awareness that you can use to perceive things that you cannot yet perceive with your eyes. So recognize, just because you can't see it with your eyes doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We understand you know this, but allow for your definitions to reflect that so you can really open that door for yourself. By the way, you can train yourself to see etheric energy. This is what you consider to be electromagnetic energies, auric energies. And you can physically see this. Many people on your planet are able to do this. So if you really wish to show yourself that dimension, if you wish, you can train yourself to do it. There's many ways.
Next question. How do the negative multidimensional entities control this planet, and what can we do to stop their influence?
Oh, what a fun question. What an exciting question. They don't control anything. They're reflections. We have said this before to certain members of your species. We'll say it again now because there's more people present. If you really want to know the secret about who's controlling everything, look no further than in your mirror. All of you are. It's your planet. It's your world. We mean that literally. It's yours. Even your religious texts talk about this. It's your world. Now, you can buy into fear-based belief systems and negative belief systems, and that can align you. It can cause you to resonate with what you would consider to be negative entities, demonic entities. But it's not as if they're controlling you. You're simply aligning with them because like attracts like. Yes, they may project some energies that strengthen the connection, the relationship between themselves and individuals they're resonating with. However, individuals can always choose to say no thank you. It's always in your hands. We mean this in a global way because we know that's how the question's being asked, but we also mean this in a personal way. If you're ever in some type of relationship with an entity that perhaps is negative that you don't prefer to be in a relationship with, you're not being controlled. That's happening through consent. You might be creating the experience of not knowing that, but still it's happening through agreement because you first must resonate with its energy in order for you to even be able to perceive it. So it's you. You're the ones doing it. The entities are just reflections of these things. So don't give your power away. Remember, these beings aren't physical. They can't control the physical reality because they can't take physical actions. Only you can. You are in control of the physical reality because through your physical actions, you ground whatever frequencies you're tuning to. You do it. No one else can, and that is unconditional. So use your physical actions to sculpt the reality you prefer. You don't have to create this good versus evil narrative. We know your Judeo-Christian religions have taught you all this. And we understand there's value in that perspective. We absolutely understand that. But understand it's just a perspective rooted in duality. It's only relevant on certain frequency levels of creation. From the level of all that is, positive and negative are one thing. They're just differentiations of the same frequency. So be source, be God, be the, let's just say, epitome of what you consider to be goodness, positivity, be that. And you'll find negativity can't really express itself in your sphere. It may present itself to you, but it won't physicalize if you don't take physical negative actions. Remember, you get the final say. If you don't take negative physical actions, negative energies can't physicalize. That doesn't mean you won't see negativity around you. It just means the negativity that you see will be ephemeral. It will be like a storm cloud. It comes, but then it goes. Maybe it thunders and lightnings for a little bit, but then it goes. Your heart, your truth, your purpose is an umbrella. In some cases, it's even a home. And you don't get wet. The storm comes by, maybe a tree falls, but you're dry. So remember, you get the final say here.
And our last question, since we're almost at 3. How do you reconcile religion with the consciousness you're sharing?
By understanding religion was born from the perspectives we are sharing. Remember, what you consider to be your religions at one point had an origin that represented a very deep moment of connection between your people and higher frequency realities, where divine realizations were had, divine perceptions were experienced. Merging with the higher self was experienced by many whom founded the religions that are present throughout your world. And in their origins, they are very pure. They are very resonant with what we are saying. However, as those religions were passed down from person to person to person, as those religions became, you could say, profitable organizations that sought power in society, different things were inserted into the religions that benefited the perspectives of those who were using the religions for their own personal gain. So recognize none of your world religions are immune from this. This has happened in all of your cultures. Now, in some cultures, that process has been more negative than others. In some cultures, it's actually been a very positive thing because it's enabled different systems that are based in deep spiritual principles to be things that were developed. This has happened. There were many matriarchal religions that existed on your planet that worshiped, you could say, the earth and that divine connection to it, that were very positive. So just because religions were, you could say, integrated into profitable societal organizations, doesn't mean that was inherently a negative thing. But because many of your world cultures were exploring negative themes, in many of those cultures, it was expressed negatively. So many of the things that are a part of your religious systems that are fear-based don't come from that origin point of the religion. They come from misunderstandings that were inserted later. Some of those things are direct insertions, again, that were used for some negative agendas that political groups had, such as religions that vilify the feminine and vilify women and attempt to oppress what you call the feminine energies. Those types of things are insertions that were made at later points in the religion. They're not a part of the pure source of it. We represent the energies that are a part of that source point. That's what we're all assisting you in merging with. Because really, that's the energy of your higher self. Again, don't give your power away. Just because a book says it doesn't mean it's true. Just because a channeled entity says it doesn't mean it's true. And just because someone on the internet said it doesn't mean it's true. You decide what's true for you. And you can do that in a way that's positive through aligning with perspectives that are heart-based. You can do it in a way that's negative through aligning with perspectives that have to do with fear. The only pressure put on you to choose is the pressure that you create. Sometimes you create it through other people, through other forces, but it's always your choice. So use your autonomy, use your free will, follow your heart. That is our baseline message, and it will remain our baseline message for now and for always. So we thank you for your creative, exciting questions. And as always, our species' unconditional love, joy, and appreciation to each and every single one of you. Good day and pleasant waking dreams.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I liked that a lot. God,
I love the last question. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I hope I have time for that one.
I'm glad you asked that one too. It's one of my, I love those things. I adore the different religious traditions that exist. I mean, there's so much beauty and truth in all of them. And of course, you know, sometimes you read it and you're like, I feel like some like bigoted person put that in there. Like that one doesn't fit. What is that? So it's fun getting these perspectives. You know, I really enjoy perspectives that are empowering, and I'm really, you know, in love with my guide because I find that's, you know, really what he brings through. So thank you all for, again, you know, creating this lovely space, great energy, you know, today with everybody. So thanks for bringing what you brought. And I hope everything that came through is of value to you.
Of service, yes. Thank you so much for being with us. And we remind you, Monday 30th, plans and possibilities, right? Right. 12 p.m. Eastern time, right?
12 p.m. $35 for a ticket admission. If you'd like tickets, just reach out to me through my email, tellison700@gmail.com. And also, too, I'll be sending out the group email. So if you're a part of the mailing list, that will be sent to you, that invitation. If you'd like to be a part of the mailing list in the future, just shoot me an email asking for a ticket and just say you want to be added to the list. I'll add you to the mailing list, and every month you'll get automatic updates of the events with some nice typed up description.
And you can participate in the raffle for the a free spot too.
Oh yeah.
The Ryok channeling group yet on Facebook, you can join us. All the updates are there. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And every month someone wins. Someone shows up, you know, for free. So that could be you. You know, participate. we love having people that just win and show up. So yeah, we invite you to enjoy and play with us in that way.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tyler, for what you do.
You're welcome, and thank you. You hire us. So great to be on this lovely adventure. And I look forward to seeing you all in a few weeks. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.